This is exercise 2-3, compound walls. This is going to be very important throughout your career here at Delaware Tech. You are going to use compound walls repeatedly. You're going to use them in your final projects. In this class, you're going to use them in your projects in other classes, so you really need to get this concept down. Okay, so to start, we're going to go to the Open tab. Okay, and hopefully you downloaded your Revit files from the book. I'm going to click on Revit 2017 exercises, and I'm looking for the iStackedWalls.revit file. So everything should be in alphabetical order. I'm going to keep going down until I see it. You can even start typing I and it will come up. And then I'm going to say Open. Okay, and it opens a building that has a level 1 and a level 2, and it has walls in it already. We are going to select the left vertical wall. So this is the left vertical wall, and the wall type that comes up is the basic wall exterior brick on metal stud. We want to adjust the wall and its components. So we're going to hit Edit Type, and I'm just going to show you right here. I'm going to hit Preview and go to Section so that you guys can see what's happening here. And I'm going to hit Edit Structure. Okay. So now you can see how each one of these layers relates to the information that we're seeing in this section. So this is the exterior side right here of the building. So on the exterior side, finish 1 of 4, which simply means that it's an exterior finished material. This 4 means it's on the outside, is masonry brick. That's the material, and its thickness is 3 5/8 of an inch. So it's highlighted right here. This is the brick layer, and this is the brick hatch, that kind of diagonal cross hatch. I'm going to highlight the next layer. So then the next layer is this layer right here. This is an air space. Okay, so behind the brick, there's an air space. Then layer 3, we have an insulation barrier. So this is rigid insulation. This is the hatch for it, and that's 3 inches of insulation. Then we have a membrane layer, and you can't really see it because it doesn't have a thickness, and that membrane layer is going to be some sort of like waterproofing or wrap that goes around the structure of the building. Okay, then we have something called the core boundary, which is gray, and then the core boundary. The only thing that should be between the core boundary is the structure, so please remember that when you go to build wall types in the future. So right here, this is our structural layer. This is the layer that's holding up the building, and this is the masonry, okay? So that masonry is 7 5/8 of an inch. That's its actual dimension versus the nominal dimension, which is something you learned about in CET 135. Okay, then the next layer we have is the substrate. So on this side, in order to attach drywall to the CMU, we need to have a furring strip. So in this case, we have a metal furring strip, and it's 1 5/8 of an inch thick. And then the last finished material on the inside, this is the interior side, is gypsum wallboard, or drywall, as it's called sometimes, and that's 5/8 of an inch thick. So I wanted to make sure I explained each one of these elements to you. Let's go back to the book exercise. So in the book, it says to hit duplicate because we are about to modify this wall type. And you always want to do this. Don't start modifying a wall type until you hit duplicate. Otherwise, you're going to rewrite information in Revit, and you don't want to do that. So this wall should be called Exterior Concrete Foundation Wall. And then we're going to press OK. And so now you can see that up here in the type, it changed to Exterior Concrete Foundation because that's what we just named it. We're going to hit Edit Structure again. We're going to hit Preview and show this section, and then we're going to make some changes here. So the following changes are shown in your book, and it says for layer 1, so layer 1 is that brick layer, remember, let's zoom in on it so we can see it. This is finish 1 of 4, which just means that it's an exterior finish. We're going to leave it as masonry brick, but it says to change the thickness to 6 inches. So I'm going to click in here and type 6. For the structure, so for layer 2, it says it wants us to have a layer called Structure 1 Concrete 6 inches. So we need to insert a layer. So I'm going to highlight 2 and hit insert. I'm going to leave it as structure 1. That's what it's saying. And then we want to change it to concrete. So in material, we click in this box, and it's going to open up our materials dialog box, the browser, and we're going to type in concrete. Oh, I was typing too fast. Concrete, and then hit enter. So I see concrete shows up right here, and you can see the hatch patterns. If it has any, will show up on this side. If you wanted to have a surface hatch pattern, you would click in here to make that happen. It doesn't tell us to do that, so I'm going to say OK. And then it says this layer should also be 6 inches. Okay, and then it looks like we need to delete a few layers. So it says layer 3 is the core boundary. So it looks like we're deleting this layer, and this layer. So we just have finish 1 of 4, structure 1, the core boundary. Then we're going to have inside of our core boundary, this is putting a little bit more information, we want to have substrate 2. And a substrate 2 is just going to be like that sheathing that might go over our building material. So this is wood sheathing. So we're going to click again in this materials box. We're going to type in sheathing, and it comes up with wood sheathing, particle board, and plywood. And it doesn't say which one to pick, so I'm going to pick the particle board, say OK, and then I'm going to change that to 2 inches. The next layer, layer 5, should be a thermal air layer, and this is going to be, you can type in here, air, and we should get miscellaneous air layer, and then we want an airspace. So this one right here, and then we want to type in that thickness of 1 inch. The next layer is a wood stud layer, so that's our structure layer. So we're going to change it from masonry to wood studs. So we're going to type in stud, and we see wood stud layer, okay? And that is going to be 6 inches. So now it's using nominal versus actual dimensions. Okay, and then we want another layer, so insert, and this layer is going to be called substrate 2. So that's covering the substrates, or what covers the wood stud, right? So there's no open gaps. And this is going to be the sheathing layer again. So we're going to do sheathing. It's already in here. Say OK, and it's going to be 2 inches. Then we have the core boundary. We can delete this layer, and then we have finish 2 of 5. So this 5 means it's an interior finish. We have gypsum wallboard, but this time it's going to be 3/4 of an inch. Alright, so now we're not done, so don't say OK, don't hit escape, make sure you don't do that. We are going to use the split region tool to create 2 different regions within this wall. So split region is down here. And when we do that, we get this little knife that pops up. We want to come over to this brick and go up 3 feet, and then click on the brick so that it splits, it puts a little line there. So that split the wall. Now we want to highlight layer 2, and we want to say assign layer. So we say assign layer, and then we're going to click on this bottom part right here, which is this 3 foot. And sometimes it takes a little bit to click on it. Just kind of try clicking a couple different spots. So what this did was it made this 3 foot section concrete. So from the base, it's 3 foot from the base of the wall up, that's concrete, and then it turns to brick. We're going to split the wall again, and we're going to go up 6 more inches. And we're going to click. And now we're going to, oh, sorry, I did that in the wrong spot. And when you do that, it's hard because you can't go backwards in here, so you have to start over again. Yikes. All right, so I'm going to fix my mistake. So I'm going to hit modify, click on this little line, and hit delete, and it won't move. I don't really want to start over again, so I'm going to split the region. I'm going to come up 3'6", click inside layer 2. It's not a big deal. Hit modify. And then I'm going to click on the assign layer button, and I'm going to highlight the brick masonry layer, and I'm going to try to click on this bottom part right here. And it might take a couple clicks to get it because, yep, sometimes it's just difficult, but I got it. Okay. Now we're going to click on modify, and we're going to select the base of the concrete layer 1 component. So that's this right here. And this little lock icon appears, and we're going to unlock it. And now we're going to do it for the concrete. We're going to come over here and we're going to unlock that. And now you see the thickness becomes variable. And we'll show you why that matters in just a minute. So we're going to press OK. Okay, so if you got that error message, the reason is that it's trying to tell you this was a structure layer up here with this concrete, and it doesn't like calling it the structure layer because the structure layer has to be between the core boundaries. So we would have to call this a finish layer. So if you change that, you should then be able to say OK. Okay, so now we're going to select the wall type with the exterior concrete foundation wall. So it's this left wall again. And then in the properties box over here, we are going to set the base extension distance. So this is our base extension distance to, it says -3 feet. So we do -3 feet, 0 inches, and then hit apply. Now we're going to either click in here and hit cancel or hit escape just to get out of that command. We want to set our detail level down here to fine, which will allow us to see the wall layers. Then, see, now you can see all the layers of the wall, and the brick is on the outside. So make sure whenever you're building wall types that you're looking at these layers and these materials. Now we're going to activate the view ribbon, and we're going to look at the 3D view. And I'm going to rotate this around, and you can see how that wall extends below it. The other thing we can do is we can cut a section through this. So I'm going to cut a section. Now the arrow is the direction the section is looking, so in the book it wants it to look up. And then this line indicates it's cutting through this wall, and then this little tail indicates it's also looking that way. I can click on the section, right click, and say go to view, and it shows me the section. And in section view, I'll change the detail level to fine so I can see those materials dropping below the wall. So now you can see that both the concrete material and the brick material we had drops below grade, which may be the case in some instances. And then you can use the grips actually to adjust the depth of how far these go up or down. And it's allowing you to do that because we unlocked some of those elements. So we're going to go back to the level 1 plan, and we're going to select the south wall, and then we are going to switch over here to a stacked wall. So we're going to scroll down until we find stacked wall 1, and we're going to select edit type, we're going to duplicate, and we're going to call it exterior brick with concrete foundation. We're going to say OK, we're going to edit the structure, and we see 2 structural elements in here. We are going to change these. Layer 1 is now going to become exterior brick on metal stud. Oops, and they're stud. And layer 2 is going to be foundation 36 inches concrete. And everything is in alphabetical order. And then we're going to set the heights. This one's going to be set to 3 feet, so that's a 3-foot foundation wall. And then we're going to select insert, and we want to insert another foundation wall. So this would be the stem wall. This might be like a footing, right? You can see it here. And then this one's the stem wall underneath this brick wall. And we're going to set that height to 3'6" And we're going to set the offset to -0 7/8 of an inch. And the reason that we did that, as you can see it right now, is then the stem wall lines up with the wall face, but the brick is able to kind of come past that concrete wall. Really, we'd want it to come maybe past it a little bit more so that the brick can fall down below in front of the foundation. Okay, we're going to